just be. Don't take it. Take it. Just don't leave. And live my life. Don't take it personal. I ain't lying. I ain't hiding. I've been grinding, multiplying. I've been trying to get my weight up, staying prayed up, meditating and taking time away. You always posting up pictures, trying to look like you winning. I'm writing rhymes in the kitchen, soaking in moments we live in, yeah.
Hey, everybody. We are live with GirlzONly TV. I'm here with my girl Karen and Miss Ciera Rose. We have a really good episode today. We are going to talk about domestic violence and how it affects homes and families and things of that nature. I'm like really excited.
Yes, I'm excited too.
Let's go.
Yeah, I'm excited. I was it's crazy because I was going through like the little sweep of Girl Gang Social, and I ran across Ciera and her story, and I was like, oh, she would, she'd just literally be amazing just to, be able to tell her story, and we be able to help more women who may be in situations or that's suffering in silence or don't know like that they can make it through it. So I just thought that, reaching out to Ciera would be like perfect. So I'm excited that she's taking time out of her evening to just have a sit down discussion with us and just have like a real heart to heart. And we just have, that connection. So Ciera, go ahead and introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about, where you're from, how old you are, all of that good stuff.
All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Ciera Rose. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm 22 years old. I am a young entrepreneur. So, I think that's about it. Yeah. I still live in Cincinnati.
Have I been to Cincinnati? I don't think I have. No, I don't think I have. So I'm originally from Chicago. I live in Houston,
Okay.
Texas. So I know we're not that those states are not that far away from each other, but I've never been to Cincinnati. So I think that just the fact that you're so young, I didn't even know you were 21. I think you said that before, but I didn't even think that registered. So you've been through a lot in 21 years. So
22.
20,
Yeah.
20
22.
what,
22.
22.
But you
So
can say 21. You can say 21.
Respect her gangster. Okay.
look, I always take a year off my age, okay? um, so just tell us a little bit like how were you raised? Like what is your background as far as like, where you come from as far as family dynamic?
Um, my background is a little different. I was adopted at a 6. I think I was 6. I was raised in a Pentecostal apostolic home. My adopted mom, she is African American, so I was raised with culture values that are very different from what I look like. Let's see. I was just raised really right, in church and very strict. My mom, she was from the South, so she didn't play, she didn't play any games. So I was raised very strict. I went to school for a couple things. I'm still learning what I want to do. Um, but yeah, that pretty much sums it up.
Angie, what about you? Is like I know for me, like I grew up my dad's a preacher, still is a preacher. So I know for me growing up, we were always in the church. Like I was in the choir. I do got them vocals. Okay, don't play with me. I got them vocals. So I was in the choir when I was young. But we was one of those families that went to church every Sunday. We was at every Bible study. We were like literally heavily involved in church. So like, how was your background? Like, is it similar to being brought up in the church and everything?
Absolutely. My mom joined the church when I was, I want to say about 5. And she is still at that church to this day.
Oh wow,
So like,
it's a long
um,
time. She committed.
listen. When I say we were there for 2 services every Sunday, Bible study every Tuesday, prayer service on Thursday,
Right.
communion every first Thursday. Like we were there, and we had to have a ministry. So, um, I've been an usher, um, been on the youth choir, the young adult choir, the hospitality ministry. Like I'm still in church, so
Right.
and I'm probably the only one of my siblings that still is for that reason.
What is that? See, it's crazy how we all come from different backgrounds, but kind of similar. Because we know I go into my story after we talk, to Sierra. Um, so Sierra, just give us like a little background of like, how what was your experience dealing with being in domestic violence, and how did you like prior to the main situation, like did you have ever experienced anything like that prior to that?
To the main experience, yes. I dated somebody when I was 16, and he became, I would say mentally abusive. He would just do things to mentally abuse me. But I wasn't raised in a domestic violent home, or I didn't really see people go through that. So it was just something new to me. I knew it was a real thing, And my mom, she always told me stuff like, you're way too much of a pretty girl. I didn't raise you, for you to walk around with a big scar on your face because something happened to you and you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, or because a man put his hands on you. I didn't raise you like that. So, yeah.
So did you see any warning signs like prior to?
Yes, you do see warning signs. You see, like, I would say a complete switch up in somebody. It will go from everything's normal, nice, and they just kind of switch up. It could be something so little as you're arguing with them over a lighter, something so small, and that argument could just escalate so big, and you're just like, it was a lighter. It was just a lighter. The lighter was misplaced, and this person would just, you would just see a switch, um, like a on and off switch, and it's kind of hard to describe at first. The signs that you see, because it kind of makes you feel like you might be going a little crazy, or it might be you, because that the person usually puts it on you. They gaslight you to make you feel like it's you. So any signs that you could see, the person could really make you feel like it's you. And also, I would say another sign could be when you're in a domestic violence situation or relationship. It's just kind of like whatever you tell them, like a secret or anything you could have told them, they'll use it against you. And that's kind of how it starts off, like you can tell them you did something in your past and they'll bring it up. And then that's kind of how things will escalate. They'll use things against you. So,
Yeah, I've seen it. Just even when it come down to them making it feel like it's your fault. Like we haven't, this whole situation is your fault. Like they play no part in any of the stuff that's going on. It's just like it's you. Like so. I've seen it firsthand. Um, so I think for me, like one of the real questions I really wanted to ask was like when it came to the actual situation, did it happen more than one time and you let it go? And or like how those situations are when we might tell like a close friend like, hey, this is going on, and they may be like, get out of the situation, and then we turn around and we go back. And like, did you ever get in that position where it's like, okay, I know that he's like this, and I maybe it was my fault or something, let me just go back and he won't do it again? Like you kind of second guess your decision on if you should leave or not.
definitely, I would say after the whole incident, if you watch my YouTube video, you will hear the whole incident that happened. But after that incident, it was a time where I went back after that to, like, kind of get closure. I kind of felt really bad about everything that happened. And we were actually in a hotel somewhere, and we went on like a little trip, to re-clear things. And he got really violent in the hotel to the point where I just knew I just had to put my clothes on and just leave, because it's the way that somebody makes you feel about things when they abuse you, as little as somebody getting off the bed, a certain way, or their body language, you know. So definitely it was a time where I did go back and I try to, you know, get closure and whatever it may be at the time. I don't It was closure for me, whatever it may be for other people. Even if you miss that person, just don't go back because they don't change. They don't change, and they don't go to counseling. They say it's your fault. They don't change, and dealing with those situations, the people who abuse you, a lot of times will make you really feel like they'll change, like they'll do whatever it is you want them to do. You want a Louis bag, I'll buy it. You want a new car, I'll got. You know, they'll do so much for you to get you back because they know that a lot of times when they abuse you, they get pleasure from it. Some people do. I don't know. It's a psychological thing. I was reading up on it, but some people do get pleasure from abusing people, and they will do whatever it is because it's kind of like a drug to them to abuse somebody else. You know what I mean? So,
You know what I noticed? It's always this saying, like, you know, when it comes to domestic violence situations, as far as especially when you're a kid growing up in a situation like I was, there's always going to be several different outcomes of the way that that kid will end up turning out, and it's always either they're going to, you know, end up being the person that's being the abuser. They're either going to be the person that's, you know, being the abused and thinking it's okay because that's what they grew up watching, or it's going to be one of those situations where, like, I'm not going, like, I don't want, you know, you're not going to be either one of those people because you pretty much in your space is kind of like, um I've seen the effects of what being an abused person can do. I've seen the effects of what being the abuser could do. So why would I want to become either one? So it's kind of like you have those three different scenarios. And for me, you know, I've watched you know, I grew up in a household that was full of domestic violence. Like, grew up in a house full, and it was all that I saw. Like, you know, certain situations, it was kind of like, you couldn't, it's kind of like you seeing someone, like you're one of your closest friends or someone, you know, that's being abused, like at home, and you can't say or do anything because you just feel powerless, like you're a kid. So for me, it was just like, okay, one of the things I told myself was, I refuse when I get older to allow anyone to put me in a situation where I'm going to be, you know, getting, you know, abused. And I know a lot of times some people, you know, we end up falling into that trap. It's like, even though that may be something that you hold, you know, the standard to you, we sometimes fall so head over heels in love with someone that we neglect the signs, and we well, he only did that one time. He, you know, he raised his voice to me one time, or, you know, he called me out my name one time. He ain't gonna do it again. Like, we start giving them excuses and bailing them out because we don't want. I don't even know if I'm describing it right, but it's just like
you are,
we,
you are, you are.
yeah, you know what I'm saying. Like, we give them excuses and we bail them out every time, and no
But
matter
it's like that.
how. Mhm.
Sorry. It's like that even in relationships with parents or friends. When you're in an abusive relationship, it's like that in any kind, you know. We make excuses because they are telling us, you know, they didn't mean it. And a lot of times as women, we like to see the good in people. You know, we like to not believe. We kind of get delusional or distracted, especially when it's a man and he's sweeping you off your feet. You're like, no, I like this. This is what I want. Keep going. But then it turns into something. So definitely you're describing it right. Definitely.
So, you know, I know you said that it was a situation where you was at the hotel and you just knew that, like, this was the moment that I needed to leave. Like, what can you describe, like, exactly what happened that night that y'all were there? Like, what led you to, like, okay, I'm done.
We were just arguing about. I can't even remember what we were arguing about. It was something really little, like it's something really little, and this was after the real big fight that we got into. But we were just. I think he was arguing with me because I didn't really want to be with him, and he didn't really understand. And I was telling him like, why can't you just basically why can't you just like understand what you did? It's just not something that you could just sweep under the rug. So then we start arguing about it, and um, he just kept getting off the bed and was yelling and screaming at me. So I just, you know, put my clothes on and left because prior to that, the big fight that we got into, you know, he put his hands on me, and dealing with him now at the hotel, it was just made me fearful. Like, oh, okay, you're back to this yelling. I thought you changed, you know, and it didn't. And you can feel it. You can feel it like when somebody makes you feel real threatened inside, you feel it. Your chest starts beating real fast, you know. You really feel it.
I remember one day, my mom and my dad had gotten into an argument. I don't remember what the argument was for, but I remember my dad leaving out of the room, and he went down. I don't know if it was like by the basement or something, but he had went towards the basement. And then I was in the living room, and I just so happened I seen him coming down the hallway with this big pole. It was like a big like metal pole. So I went in the room where my mom was, and I was like guarding her. But by this point, I'm in my teenage years, so I'm guarding her. Like, okay, well, if you finna hit, if you finna hit her with this pole, well, we finna be fighting together. Because at this point, growing up, I'm too small. I can't do. There's not too much I can personally do to help save, my mom or intervene. But at this point, like whether if you're gonna hit her, you're gonna hit me too, and we're just gonna be in here fighting. But I remember just that scared feeling like, oh, okay, well, this whole entire time out of all these years that I've seen him, abusing my mom, it was that instance of, oh, that he really finna do something to hurt her like really, really bad. So it was like at that moment, I was like, okay, well, let me go ahead and just try to do anything that I can do. But that moment is like, that's one of the major points that I can always remember when it comes to like domestic violence. Like that specific moment stands out a lot to me. Like I can never remember. I can never forget that part, that day, because it was super scary.
See, and that triggers something for me because although like my parents didn't like fight, but my father was ex-military, so he was like really, really loud. And when he got worked up, he would scream, like he would scream. And my mom is a really timid person. Like she does not like for people to scream at her. So like this one time, um, my parents had gotten into this argument, and I don't necessarily remember what the argument was about. But my dad, like he raised his voice in a way I hadn't heard before. And the fear that I saw in my mom scared me. Like I wasn't necessarily afraid of my dad because my dad yelled all the time, but the fear I saw in her was what made me scared. And I was like, oh my God, like what's gonna happen? And my mom had a for real anxiety attack um at that point. And it was really scary for me because I had never seen that. Like I had never seen my mom scared before. I had never, like that was something new. So that shock for me, like to have to live in that, Karen, as you did, like I don't think I could have.
Yeah, so that's one of the main reasons that me and my dad don't really get along like that. Like even despite everything else that he's done, it was the abuse for me that made me lose a lot of respect. You know what I mean? So it's just like, even even like, I think we talked about this last week, Angie, when we was talking about how we need to raise our kids and be the example, and not be like, oh well, you do this, but you're gonna see me doing something different. It's like you can't tell, especially men that got daughters. Like you can't tell your daughter this is the type of man you need to be with, and then you showing something completely different on the other end. Like you want someone that's not gonna beat on me, but you doing it to my mom.
Right, right.
Hmm.
And that's just I mean, that seems to be the position that a lot of parents, like in general, take. And I feel like pushed too far. I want to say I want to say that's a form of like I want to say it, but I don't. You know what I mean? But I feel like that's like a form of mental abuse.
It
You're
is.
causing that kind of schism where it's like I'm seeing one thing, but you are actively telling me to do something different, and I can't reconcile the two.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like how that's a I feel like that's a holding pattern. Like it's a form of abuse.
It is. It is, and even when it go back to just looking at it from Ciera's point, it's kind of like we some most of the times we can see the signs and we just sometimes neglect it.
Mhm.
Like I don't give people too many times to yell at me. Like, bruh, first of all, yelling at me is a trigger. Like I'm automatically my defense is gonna be up, and we gonna have a problem. So it's just like if I feel like you yelling at me, I'll let you know. Like there's never been a time where my husband has ever yelled at me, and I like he probably did it one time, and it was to the point where he was trying to say something and I didn't hear him. But I took that as like, bro, watch what you get. Like I said, I would be the
Watch your mouth, sir.
I'm like, what did you say? I didn't hear you. And then when he speaks up, he's yelling it so I can hear him. But that's automatically a trigger for me. Like, bro, you yelling a little bit too loud. I know I told you to repeat yourself.
But take some of that bass out.
Like, take a look, take it down a notch. But yeah, but that's like a trigger for me. So I know like a lot of times we do get signs, and a lot of us women, we like Ciera said, we want to. One of y'all said this, but we want to see the good in everybody else.
Yeah.
Like we naturally want to see the good in everybody else. So it's like, okay, well, everybody makes mistakes, but it's not too many mistakes you're gonna keep making. Like there has to be a time where we have to stop allowing people to keep making the same mistake over and over again. I know it's harder. It's harder said than done though.
Ciera, were you gonna say
And
something?
also, I wanted to put in, yeah, also, I wanted to put in when you were talking about how the person will make you feel like it's your fault, they also will make you feel like, because of their past traumas, that it's okay for them to do this. Like they'll do it, right? And then they'll cry to you and tell you, "Oh, well, you know, I watched my dad kill my mom in front of me." Like, not saying that happened, but I'm saying they will say something to you like that, and it's just like, I never knew, and you feel bad, and you're like, well, this is why you are like this. This is how you are. And then me personally, I'm always like, okay, I'm sorry. It is okay. Maybe I triggered you, but no, because they would do that. It would make you feel bad no matter what. Huh? What did you say?
Oh, I was I was agreeing with you. I'm also the type of person that's like, oh my God, maybe I did it. I'm so sorry. Let me help.
Yes. And I will super analyze the whole thing, and they will get you, especially if you're that type of person. They will know exactly how to make you feel bad for them.
Wow.
What do you think about? I know sometimes a lot of women feel like they can't leave. Like well, I don't have enough. I don't have enough money saved up to be able to leave, or um, it'll always be it'll always be like, okay, well, I don't have something in order for me to be able to be on my feet to be able to leave. So
Or
I used to always tell people like you can't do that. Like you have to be able to just get up and go. Like there's shelters and stuff out there. There's something that somewhere out there. There's somewhere you can get help from, even if you don't think that you can. But a lot of the times that's a hindrance for a lot of people is I don't know if I have enough money to be able to leave. Like so, um, I think for me it's kind of frustrating when people say that because I've seen situations with close friends that was in domestic violence situations, and because they didn't leave, they ended up dying at the hands of the person that was abusing them. So it's like, what advice do each of you all have when it comes to a situation like that where someone's like, I just can't leave, I don't have enough.
Well, like you said, it is shelters out here. But even if you wanted to keep it discreet and you're that type of person where no, I don't ever want to go to a shelter, I don't, because a lot of times people don't leave because of their own things. They might not have enough money, they don't have a car, the children, the money. If I leave him now, everything I worked for is gone. Any of that, it's just more so as an excuse, and that sounds really bad, but you got to think, if somebody's abusing you, or you got to look, if it was your kids getting abused, you would tell your daughter to leave right now. You can go stay in a hotel, sleep in your car. If you are really determined to leave somebody and this is something that you want to do, you will have the strength to do it, or pray and ask God what you should do, because it's a very serious thing, and you have to leave it alone. You have to just like kind of not forget that it ever happened, but you kind of just got to walk away from the situation, leave, and don't look back, because even when you look back, it will get bad, and the abuser will try to make you come back, and it will just keep going on and on and on and on and on. So I feel like the best thing is just to leave, you know.
And I would say, being women of faith, we tend to try and be friendly, try to, like Ciera said, make excuses. Oh, well, I don't want to look like this type of person, or I don't want to be this type of person, or I want to be forgiving, or I want to be, whatever it is. But we tend to try and use our faith to say, like, I don't have to leave because God will protect me, or I don't need to leave because, um and I've actually heard that. But like, it's one of those things where you gotta kind of, not kind of, but you've gotta think to yourself. And again, like Ciera said, if it was your daughter, you tell her to leave. And using your, using the example of being a woman of faith, you've got to know that God is looking at you like, daughter, this is not this is not what I had. I've known women who have stayed in maybe not violent relationships, but um very much abusive relationships, because they felt like that was what God wanted them to do. And it's frustrating. It's really frustrating, because if you serve a God that loves you and wants the best for you, then you have to know that he is not, going to put you with somebody that's going to beat on you, or make you feel anything less than what he created you to be. So, like, you've got to put away the excuses and summon up that courage. And it is courage that you need. um it's not necessarily a, well, let me, take 3 weeks and fast and pray and ask God where I got. No, that this is an abusive relationship, and that it's not where you're supposed to be. So what you have to do in those instances is be able to take that up, take up that strength and that courage, and get out of there. Like, even if um and like, I'm one of those people. I'm a hopeless romantic. Even if on the back end he becomes a different person and you already gone, great for him. Great for him. You did not have to be there for that. You do not have to take the abuse to get to the end result. You don't. You don't.
We don't.
You know.
A lot
And
of times we feel like we can fix,
right.
people. You no, if you cannot fix, like, he can go and get all the help that he want to get. You know what I mean? Go get the help you want, but that don't mean I have to be in the picture while you're doing it.
Nope.
And then even after you're done, I'm like, you just scarred me so much to even be in, to even give you another chance. I don't want to go back, because you can, it's like, I don't know. I know. I just remember. I remember a couple of times where I was watching the abuse happen in my household, and I was just like, it broke my mom down so bad. It broke her down, and it took it. I'm kind of not irritated, but I'm kind of like sad at the way that everything took place growing up. But what ultimately ended up happening was she was able to get the courage enough to leave. And I'm like, okay, well, if that was the end result, then I'm cool with the way the things went down. Like the ultimate reason why behind why they separated. I'm cool with the way that everything went down, because I gave my mom the courage to leave that situation, and she's been happy ever since. Like, you shouldn't have to feel like, and that even goes into how some people also don't leave because they feel like it's important for them to have a two-parent household for their kids. And my thing is, it's okay for you to want to have a two-parent household, but if the household is toxic and they're seeing all of this domestic violence, all of this verbal abuse, like all of this
It's
stuff,
almost
you
worse.
need to leave.
I feel like it's almost worse for the child, like for the children, um, to remain in that situation and see that than to
Yeah,
be in a single parent household where they are loved and cared for and validated and all of that wonderful stuff. Like we've seen great things come out of single parent households. There isn't like the two parent household isn't the be all end all.
right.
You know, it's not the end. You can
Right.
be a great parent on your own,
I wholeheartedly believe that. I definitely believe that.
or
I just feel like,
you can find a better parent than the one that beats you.
you don't have to deal with that. As far as you can make the decision to leave. I know it's like I said, it's always hard. It's harder to said than done because some people are that
Easier said than done.
they're that they're that much into the situation that
Yeah,
it's kind of hard for them to be able to leave and just to know that, hey, I deserve better than what I'm getting. Like it's definitely a difficult situation. So I get it from different standpoints. So especially when people are in a situation and they feel like they can't leave, but most of the time they feel like they can't leave because they probably don't have support. They don't feel like they have enough. Um, and then sometimes the man makes them feel like they're the only person that will be there for them. Like, don't nobody, ain't nobody else gonna love you. Don't ain't nobody else gonna look out for you. Like all of this other stuff they make you feel. It's just like
yeah.
it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. So it's kind of like what can we say to those people that's like, okay, well, what steps can I take to get out of the situation? Because sometimes some people are stuck. They literally don't know what to do.
I feel like every woman, if you're in a relationship, you should always have like a whole card. You know what I mean? Like money in your account just in case something happens, or you just have to hurry up and get everything you need. Um, but I would say a step would be to um, maybe go to a counselor or seek help outside of the home secretly. You know, and maybe they can help you um, further go along with the process.
Even with like you said, having that extra money, especially if you start noticing signs and you feel like you're especially in too deep, start having your money or whatever. But I definitely think that I just lost my train of thought. Having your money, it was something else I was gonna say. Having the money, making sure that you're keeping a paper trail of everything as well. You know how some times you may get into an altercation with your boyfriend or whatever, but then it may be a situation where you press charges, you had a police come out, you get them locked up, and then maybe like a week later you drop in charges and you're like, okay, we'll just forget about it. You have to keep a paper trail. You have to go follow through with the stuff that's going on. You can't just keep giving them a pat on the back, like, oh, okay, we're not gonna do it again. He called me from jail and told me he was sorry. Like, no, you have to be able to stand firm on what it is and use that opportunity to get away. You use that opportunity to get away. And granted, like I've seen several instances where people have went through oppression charges, they got restraining orders, but the men still, at the end of the day, they still go past that restraining order and still come to you. And it's been a couple of cases where people had, the judges have let people go that just got locked up from domestic violence, and then they turn around, they went back and killed the girl. Like, forget about the whole, restraining order, but you know what I'm saying? Like, so I've seen different cases, and it's just honestly, it's sad because it's like you can't win for losing. You're either going to stay and suffer from the abuse, or you leave. You press charges. You fear. Okay, well, I got a restraining order, but who's to say this piece of paper is not going to stop him from coming towards me or coming to do something to harm me? So it's just like it's so many different outcomes. But I just feel like, this is one of those subjects. It's kind of like it's extra touchy. Like it's
Mm,
it's real touchy.
yeah, it is. I would say add to that, making sure, like from what I know about abusive relationships, it's difficult to build a support system because of the fact that you're isolated so much. Um,
Yeah,
but I I would say reach out. Like it may be that you don't know somebody and they strike up a conversation with you, or you know um whatever it is. If you get an opportunity
yeah,
and you're in a situation like that and you really really want to leave, reach out to whom you can. I wouldn't, want to tell anybody anything that's going to get them hurt, but if it were me personally, if I'm in a bank bathroom and somebody came running up to me and they were like, "Listen, I know we were talking a minute ago, but I'm in an abusive household. I'm trying to get out. I need help." I'm gonna do what I can. Like I'm gonna go find a police officer or something. Like I'm gonna do something. Um, and I don't know very many people that wouldn't. So like I would say definitely, um if you can find the chance, the opportunity, reach out to
yeah,
somebody, anybody, um, and get yourself out of there.
yeah. I definitely agree with that. Like you said, just reach out. Reach out, call the hotline, do something. Like there's something that can be done, but you just have to be willing to take that step, even if it's fearful, even if you're afraid. Still take that step and like, okay, I need to tell somebody. Like, let somebody know what's going on so someone can help you. So Ciera, as we're about to come to a close, like, what is like maybe two pieces of advice that you can give someone that's in a situation and don't know what to do?
Two pieces of advice is one, don't be afraid, don't be scared to leave. Just I know we were just talking about how the steps in order to leave, but the number one advice I can say is really just leave. You just have to leave. Once you leave, you will feel better. Your mind can focus. You can get back to what was going on before this relationship. Because sometimes I think we forget about that. Like we had a great life before this relationship. So a lot of times we need to think about that. And another piece of advice I would give is be watchful of your friends and your family members and people just out in the world. A lot of people are going through domestic violence and they won't have a lot of signs. You know what I mean? So make sure you're watchful of those around you, and always come off real pleasant and nice to others so they can, comfortably come to you and talk to you about things. So that's the only advice I could really give to people going through that, and just continue to pray and keep your head up because it's hard. It's really hard, but you have to leave. You have to leave the situation. It's very toxic, and nothing you're doing in your life, whether it be work, family, kids, will get on a straight path until you leave this relationship because you can't think straight. Somebody's constantly, abusing you. You can't be the best mom you could be or the best dad, or you can't be the best that you could be. So really, you just really need to leave and just get it together. Don't be afraid to share with someone close to you, even if it's a neighbor. Even if it's a neighbor, you don't have anybody to talk to, just tell a neighbor.
That's real good. Like I think that all of those pieces of advice was on point. So yeah, I definitely just want to just thank you, Ciera, for taking, like I said, taking time out of your evening to just have a discussion. And I do look forward to having more collaborations with you because I know you have so many more stories to tell. But like I said, I really appreciate you. Angie, did you want to go ahead and close it out?
I I do just want to thank you for coming on with us. I'm sure that there are quite a few women watching, even if they're not in the situation, they know somebody that's in a domestic violence situation, and I'm sure that you've helped somebody just by being that person that did get out and reach back, um, to help other women get out. So I thank you so much for joining us today. I thank, everyone who joined in with us on our conversation. And please don't hesitate to, leave your comments and everything, in the video on YouTube, and like, subscribe, come see us over at Girl Gang Social. And thanks for joining us. We can't wait to see you next week.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, everybody. Thanks again, Ciera.
Thank you guys for having me. Have a nice day.